Welcome to my second podcast. I am super pumped and blessed to be having such awesome guests on my podcast. Just getting started out. This guy's name is Henry Quesada. He is a spiritual leader who's traveled the world. He's danced with ayahuasca, different plant medicines, though that's not what he's about. Also a life coach. So much knowledge to be gained from this dude, and I'm super pumped to have a friend in him. And to move forward with our relationship. So enjoy. Recording in progress. All right.
You could stop it if you want to go over like a little bit right before we start, or up to you, or we could just jump right in. I really don't
Perfect.
care.
We're perfect, man. If it's recording, we're good now, dude. Fuck, man. So
Yeah.
this is an example of like some of the stuff that I definitely want to talk to you about, man. I'm super pumped to get to have this moment with you, and for my podcast thing that I'm doing. I don't want it to be like ever any kind of thing where it's like I'm interviewing I just like fucking open dialogue. Now, that being said, obviously I have some questions for you, but I just like, I feel like I'm hanging out with you, man. And that makes me super pumped. I've even got the fucking,
Oh, there you go.
I brought that out. I was like, I'm gonna just wear it because I see you in your TikToks with it on. But yeah, dude, like that's a good example, man. You brought up a good point. I'm still battling the egoic mind, or however you want to phrase it, right? With when little things inconvenience you, how do you react to that? Now, granted, I've made a lot of headway. I used to get like really flustered with shit,
Right.
like you drop your food or whatever, and it's like, motherfucker, that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But the inner work that I've done, which I've still got a lot to go, has made that more peaceful. But nonetheless, right there in the beginning of this podcast, there was like this fucking fuck, and then your response was, hey man, it's all good.
Yeah.
I love it, man. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So
Well,
cool.
it's just right. It's practice. It's all that stuff that goes with it. I mean, I used to be very negative, very toxic, and kind of the worst person to be around, for the time of my life. And so, but being able to reflect upon how I have moved from responding to reacting is a huge difference for me. Like before, I used to react to an old character that I used to believe that I was. Dude, I can't do this, I can't do that. I had all these limitations and all these beliefs, and then I fucking figured out that beliefs are a choice. And like, holy shit. Like, I don't have to do what I thought. I'm so like rooted in that idea that I'm this way. And so able to respond to reality has created freedom. It's not always cute and pretty, it's but that's the road that I'm taking, the process of self-actualization.
Yeah, I'm trying to, and it's like, I think for me, for the first couple years of like diving into whatever my spiritual awakening process was unfolding to be, I took in a lot of content, and some of it was reading. I'm doing more reading now than I used to. I used to never fucking read because my dad wanted me to read, and fuck him. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm getting better at that. But I took in like a lot of podcasts and stuff, and it's almost like I was laying the groundwork. So there's like a lot of knowledge that's in there, but it's totally different when it comes to implementing it, And I know that there's like key pillars, like, it's all good, whatever's happening, it's all good. And if it's bad, it's really not even bad, because you're going to learn from the bad. And it's all about just trying to stay in the present moment and be at peace. I've even got crystals now, no more watch. I just got crystals on my wrist, So I think I'm in the click now. So listen, I took a moment to dive a little bit deeper into you, to give whoever's watching this a little bit of backstory. We met through the TikTok world. I've had some crazy growth on there that I wasn't expecting. And then all of a sudden here I am, like, what the fuck, but I'm meeting cool people like you, which is awesome. And Henry, has a great perspective on spirituality and has his own coaching platform and stuff, and has some history with also plant medicine, which I learned about recently. I saw you had another podcast on YouTube with some guy named Max, I think. And so I'd love to dive into all that. But the first thing that I kind of wanted to just throw out there, and then we can just fucking flow. Like I said, I know I said I want to flow and I'm over here, whatever. But so I have my own belief, and I feel like, I know we're all on our own path. We're all equal. We're all divine. Like I get all that, but you're a little further along on your trek of spiritual awakening than I am. But, to make sense of this for me, because I used to be super analytical about everything, like it's got to make sense. Science has to explain it, and that kind of shit. The Japanese water experiment really opened me up. I'm sure you're familiar with that, whatever that guy's name is. Holy shit. I'm like, okay, there's something there, So my thought is like, the first thing is what I used to think is, all right, well, if everything's divine, then why is there, people that are born with deformities? Why are there people that are absolute monsters? Why is there this? Why is there that? Why is there this? And so I just wanted to throw this at you. And this is something that I started telling myself and other people I communicate with. When you come across someone who appears to, they're never going to be awakened. Like you can almost like this person, they're not making it. You know what I'm saying? Not on this thing. So I like to look at it as they're baby souls, right? Like you and me have probably been here a couple of times and other people viewing this podcast, et cetera, et cetera. But there's people out there that are so damaged and so broken. I started like, they're baby souls. They don't know. They're just running around and pissing and shitting on themselves. And next time they'll get it. So I didn't know, does that resonate with you at all? Or what's your take on that?
Well, yeah, in many ways, pieces of it do. My truth is not the ultimate truth. It's just it's one perspective of the ultimate truth, right? And so, so I'm not right. I'm just experiencing my own journey, and I'm reflecting what I vibrate and just articulating that. And I don't believe that I'm not on the right path or the wrong path. I'm just on my path.
Right.
And I'm outside of duality or comparison or judgment. And so, I mean, I think at some level, I mean, we're still playing the game though, right? We're playing the three-dimensional world, intention, paying bills and all that, right? And so it's a finesse between letting go and actually the discipline of creating something. And so to go back to about like, people that are broken and like, all this shit that happens in this world and why does it happen, right? And all these things, all these travesties. But I've been, to be completely honest, I think there's different planes of soul lessons that we all incarnated, like the person who incarnated to be ignorant, or maybe that's my perspective on it, or the one that's not doing the work. That's its soul's intention, incarnated to experience that, graduates from this reality. It understands why it went through that. And I don't know why that's so. It's just because source creator or infinite source has a plan for you, or you have a plan for yourself before you incarnated.
Right.
Now, I'll give you a quick example. Like I got asked recently a lot about law of attraction, and it's a big one. Okay, like if I'm a good person and I pray and I love people and I do the work, why the fuck am I going through why did I get cancer? Are you saying that I attracted this? I attracted this disease? I never did. Why did my son die at 7? Why did my husband leave me? I'm a good person. What is the reason? You're saying that I attracted that, right? And so let me explain my perspective on it based off really trippy experiences that I had naturally, just all of a sudden, and having access to something that I can't even explain. Are you there? Is it cutting off?
It's frozen a little bit here, man. Okay, now you're back. I'll have to fly to Hawaii and we'll do a proper one.
Yes. Is this better? Or is it still choppy?
We're good now. Yeah, it just froze up for a second there.
Perfect. I forgot what I was saying.
Yeah, right. See, and that's the weed smoking. I'm just kidding.
It was like you attracted this experience, this pain, right? This thing that you can't explain. So you're saying that I'm a bad person. There's different rules to this. Like the law of attraction states that you attract what you think, right? If I want a car, I want a good podcast, I want to create more money, I want to live in Hawaii. That's three-dimensional. That's in this reality. That's polarity. That's me wanting something and focusing on it and creating it. There's also spiritual principles, metaphysical principles, the law of radiance, the law of vibration, something that your soul came in to incarnate and learn the lesson through that. And that requires shadow work. That requires self-elevation, self-perspective, at a higher perspective. Like, for example, like, why do I attract a divorce? into my life? Why did I attract a family death so rapidly? Why did I have to dissolve my current investment property that I had? Why did I went through chaos for a little bit not long ago, and I didn't attract that into my life. I mean, my soul needed that to cultivate a deeper superpower, right? And now when I'm able to do this work and sit and meditate and ask creator, what am I doing in this moment to cultivate a deeper power? Then it comes forth the wisdom that my soul will learn. And that's beyond the mind, right? That's not, I attract because you're programming that.
So I'd like to add to that. So I like where you're going. The way I make sense of that, and some people will think that I'm a fucking nut for saying this, but whatever's crazy that's going on in the world, right? Like whatever happens, it's a lesson, right? And we grow from it. And the only reason that we take it as bad is because of how we were brought up in this world, in this 3D reality. We were told that it's bad. When we hurt ourselves and our mom, coddled us and everything, like, oh, that was bad, so this is good, and like we were fucking programmed to perceive it this way. When if you tap into, the stuff you're talking about, like that makes sense to me. Like I get on board with that. And, people are like, did you hear about the school shooting? And it's like, hey man, life happens. I don't know. We just got to make peace with it and learn our lessons and grow. And I also think like, it is like it's a big symphony. It's a big orchestra that's going on. The most elaborate movie that's ever been made, right? But it's not one character or we're all main characters, etc. But it's all divine. And what kind of a movie or play or orchestra would it be if we got everything we wanted? If everything was perfect? That'd be a boring fucking movie to watch, Yes. You got to have contrast to make it interesting. But I still think, like, I don't know, you take someone who is, and you're right? Like we're coming from the outside, wherever that is, and we're coming in here to learn lessons or have experience to grow in some way. But you look at someone who, whatever, the people that bag the groceries that I don't know what they're called, that whatever they have, that, they're not like us. I'm not being politically correct right now. There's a word that we used to use back in the 90s that we can't use anymore. But you know what I'm saying? But it's like, why? Why? And I'm like, is it because they're a baby soul? It's like, this is their first time here, so they're just checking it out, I
don't know, man. I mean, a good book to read is called Many Lives, Many Masters.
Okay.
By I think he's a psychiatrist who was an atheist and was doing past life regressions. He didn't know he was doing that. And then this person that he was interviewing, or I'm sorry, hypnotizing, started getting all these past life memories. And he was like, this person's not educated. How does she know about this and this and that? But in that pursuit, he also was that woman that he was past life regressing. And like an energy came in, like this divine energy, started speaking to him directly. And the psychiatrist, Brian Weiss, I think his name is, he lost a child at 9 months. He was a 9-month-old child that I guess his heart was born backwards. And he didn't tell anybody about it. Okay. He didn't tell him and his wife had this really big thing. And this energy that came in was like that child that died at 9 months was an advanced soul. And that soul was an advanced avatar that came in to divert your entire career path to do the work that you're doing now. And and so he was like, what the fuck is going on here? He's like doing this and he doesn't understand that. Like, how does this energy come in with this woman who knows nothing about him and about this son that passed away at 9 months that he hasn't told anybody about, that happened a long time ago, that which did change his career path.
Yeah.
It changed everything about his life.
Wow.
And so I've had similar experiences like that happen to me in meditation and deep thought, like, why does this happen? But it's to change the whole nature of reality and to elevate our consciousness. We just don't know we don't know why racism existed. We don't know why it's still happening. It's to create a contrast to elevate our evolution too in many ways.
Yeah. So maybe a good thing to dive into, because I want to know, just for my own curiosity. So I know that you are a coach in some capacity, and I'd like to hear more about that. I know you have experience with plant medicine. I want to know more about that. And if it can't fit today, hopefully in the future it can. But I'm more curious in the current moment. Like, I know you said that you used to be, I don't know if the broken's the word or whatever, but you used to be in a place nowhere near enlightened. what happened? Like, what was the course of events that set you on the path to where you are now? Like, what was the big shift, and how did that pan out?
Well, I hit a super rock bottom. I don't know, maybe like 15 years ago, probably. And
Yeah.
I can remember the day actually. And I pulled up in front of my house. It was late at night. I was hungover and I got a DUI like a week prior.
Mhm.
And I was still drinking and driving. I was a mess. I hated my job. I hated everything about it, and I was in front of my house and I was debating on going inside because what awaited me was a horrible situation because we were losing our house. It was going through foreclosure. I was 4 years behind on property taxes,
Mhm.
and I was taking care of my parents at the time too. My dad had Alzheimer's, and it was like not. It wasn't the worst at the point at that. It wasn't the worst yet, but I remember the day prior, I had to stop him from killing himself because he was so upset about who he was. Like I walked into his office and he was just breaking shit, and he was like, "I'm so fucking done. I was what," and I didn't know what to do, but just to hold him and just hold him and just tell him I love him
Yeah.
because he was so upset because he was losing his mind and he was losing his power because he didn't know what to do with his life anymore. And that was the day prior of me pulling up hungover drunk, right? And my mom was depressed. She wasn't so happy that they weren't doing well financially. That's why I was helping them out and all this stuff, right? The house was dilapidated. It was just the worst case scenario. I
Right.
don't know if it get any worse than that in many ways. I was also an atheist,
Okay. Like full blown.
full blown, and I hated who I was too. And I was pretending to be a certain image, and everybody saw that image, but I hated myself. I
Right.
hated really. I could barely read. I was dyslexic. I was like 20 something, and I barely graduated high school, and I had a problem with reading. I had a poor self-esteem, like the worst of the worst, I think.
Yeah.
I was even debating on like committing suicide at that moment.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
really alive here. And
Yeah.
at that point, there was a song that played. It was called I Believe by Dead Prez, and it was on shuffle. Like that was the time that I think it was iPod or some shit. It was like on shuffle, and it played that song.
Hmm.
And it was just this message that said, if you believe in yourself, you could transform anything, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just wanted to cry and cry and cry. And I got out of the car and I did what many personal development people do now. It's called the Pareto principle. I didn't know what this was at the time. I went inside my house, grabbed a piece of paper, and I just slammed it on the table. I was crying. Nobody saw me. I kind of snuck in. And I grabbed and I said to myself, what is the most important thing right now for me? What is
Mhm.
the thing that I need to do? And it was like, make sure our house doesn't get foreclosed on. Second thing was take care of my parents. Third thing was like fucking read, learn how to fucking improve yourself.
Uh-huh.
Fourth, like go to school, something random, and that's all I felt like. Four or five things.
Yeah.
And all I did was obsess with the first thing,
Uh-huh.
and in that process of obsession, of just being single-minded on each of those targets,
Uh-huh.
in person within like 3 years. It took a while, but I got into personal development. I started reading, I started evolving in many ways. That was the first stage of my evolution, being able to commit to something and being single-minded and to believe and trust.
Were
No
you
matter
were you into like Jim Rohn or anybody in particular?
not at the beginning. No, not at the
Oh,
beginning. I was just like, I mean, at first I had to fucking read, man. I had to
yeah.
develop basic skills like how to retain information because I would read a page and I would forget everything. So I
Yeah.
spent years just reading like one book, like try to like have recall memory. I didn't have good recall memory. I struggled with school. I struggled with poor self-esteem. So my ability to speak the way that I do now was engineered and cultivated,
Yeah.
to speak part and all that. So I had to really go to the basics, like just fucking read and retain information. So
Yeah.
after like the third fourth year, then I got into like, personal development, Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Right. But that was the first stage.
Yeah. And then what brought on, how did it transition into like spiritual aspects?
Well, that happened like maybe 8 years after that. I learned that the law of attraction, that if you focus on something and you commit to it, you could create it, you could manifest it.
Hmm.
But here's the thing. What if my thinking has been programmed? What if everything that I thought about myself was given to me by my society, by other people, and I didn't know what I wanted? I always thought what I knew what I wanted. So I was manifesting shit that I didn't care about. Like there was a point where I opened a bar and restaurants, and I was really good bartender. I was drinking a lot, and I was getting really good at that. Really good at that. I was gonna open a bar and restaurant. I knew I was gonna achieve it. I knew I was gonna be really successful at it. But deep down in my heart, I knew it's not what I needed to do. It was like, this is not, something's not aligned here.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when it happened, I went home and for the first time ever, I prayed for help. I
Huh.
asked to something that I didn't know.
Yeah,
And
right.
yeah, dude, it was sincere too. It was like
Yeah,
from here. It
yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
from here. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing in my life. I need help.
yeah,
I declare that I want guidance, I want insight, and I want information to come through me in a way, and I will surrender myself to you.
yeah,
And that's when I popped. That's when I started getting like instantaneously. I got like an injection in my body. Like I started to cry. I started to see the future that I was going to be a spiritual leader, that I was going to help millions of people. And I was like, what the fuck? That's not who I am. I'm a
now, was that like
bartender.
a lucid vision that you had in that moment?
Yeah, I wasn't in psychedelics, by the way. I
Right,
wasn't. You
right.
know, this was
But it was similar to that.
it was
What
similar
you?
to that. It was Yeah, it was almost like a daydream that was kind of engineered and then imposed on me. It was like coming from my own mind. And then it was like a script that was already pre-written. And then I was just like, what the fuck is going on here? Like I had my eyes open and everything.
So what you saw in your immediate 3D world
Yeah,
was crossed over with this, or did this lucid dream state take over that?
both. I would want to say it's a blend of both.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah. And I popped, and as soon as I popped, other things started making sense. I realized that I was always multidimensional. I was just ignorant of it.
Uh-huh.
And we could go into another 2.5 hours on this, like, or 3 hours on like how our lower how we're always communicated to, it's just being open to. Like, I'll give you a little quick example, okay?
Yeah.
Just pull this out.
Yeah.
I remember in high school smoking weed, not giving a fuck, drinking, and all I cared about was sex. I was about to get kicked out of school. And then a school representative came from UC Berkeley and said, was presenting. And then I heard a voice said, you need to go to Berkeley. And I was like, bullshit, I'm not good enough. What the fuck? When I went back to community college, a same representative came from UC Berkeley.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just doing whatever. And then I heard the voice again, you need to go to UC Berkeley. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, what the fuck? Whatever. After my spiritual awakening, I got a bunch of mentors. A lot of like top pioneers in the industry. I did a pilgrimage, went to Egypt, went to all these places, came back, and I started praying for help. And then I heard a voice say, you need to go to Berkeley. And I was like, what the fuck? I don't want to go to school. I hate school.
Yeah.
Well, to make a long story short, I ended up going to my community college just to explore the idea. And as soon as I went there, the counselor who I never met said, you need to go to Berkeley. And it was the same voice. And I was like, what in the fuck? And so I applied to Berkeley. And what I did is I asked, if I'm supposed to go to Berkeley, tell me what to write, because I have to do the insight questions to get in there. I closed my eyes and then I started visualizing my mentor speak to me. And then I started writing everything about how I was a fuck up, how I used to, do drugs, and how I transformed. It was everything that the prompt didn't ask me to write.
Yeah.
I submitted it. And my counselor thought I was crazy. You're like, you're not answering the prompt. It's a good story, but you're not going to get in. I ended up getting a full scholarship with housing, with everything.
Jeez.
Okay, here's the part where the best part that I think is the
Uh-huh.
best part. I was going to UC Berkeley. I was driving down the 510. I forgot what freeway it was at this point. I was driving down the 510 and I was just thinking about my journey. And then I look at the Berkeley Tower and then I say, you need to go to Berkeley. And at that moment, I saw all versions of me collapse. And I was speaking to myself from a future version to my past version.
I'm with you.
I I can't explain that shit, dude.
I'm with you. I love it. I'm with you because I know that I've heard it multiple times. They talk about, time is it's all happening now. Everything is now. Like my 5-year-old version of me that scraped his knee, etc. Bullshit. It's all happening right now. Time's an illusion, and it's all about like I'm with it. But see, and this is so inspiring for me to hear, because it's like it puts me, it makes me be more confident in my journey. So I love like having these conversations. But I think because of the way I was raised, the way my father raised me and everything, and my, whatever, and I built this shield of a person to maintain my, I'm a man, sort of thing. And so like trying to peel back those layers, it's taken some fucking time. And I did dance with shrooms like back when I was like 20, like 2 times, 2022, but it was not proper mindset. It was not proper setting, not the deal, right? But now I'm thinking, maybe I go do it and actually make sure that I'm in the proper shit, and just kind of fast forward things, because like I hear you say that stuff, and like you're clearly not a crackhead, you know what I mean? Like you have a coaching business that you do, you got plenty of people to look up to you on TikTok, you know what I mean? Like you're a good dude, you're a well-rounded dude that's fucking, lassoed your shit and built a man out of yourself, you know what I'm saying? Whatever. But I'm just saying, like, I know that it's not bullshit, but like my old egoic self, and I don't know if you've noticed on my avatar, like there's this cartoon version of me pulling the old me, and I don't want to go anywhere. You know what I'm saying? And that's exactly what it is. So I'm totally on board with it. And you know what's funny is I just looked at my clock, 3:33. I'm seeing numbers like fucking all the goddamn time now. It's all sorts of shit. What I've said in my moments of like, and getting the tinglies and shit, when I've said in the moments of like where I'm having a moment with whoever the fuck is around me, I'll say, I want this, but I want it to be gradual. I don't want to be freaked the fuck out, So like, don't go showing up at the foot of my bed, please. You know what I'm saying? And what's funny is it's fucking happening gradually. And there's been a couple moments of synchronicities and things. And like, I'm like, oh, you motherfucker. Thank you. I did ask for gradual. I did ask for that. Thank you. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of thing. But so part of me is a little bit freaked out by it, but I also know that everything is divine. Yeah. It's all beautiful. Now there is the discussion topic about the negative entities and things of that nature that are out there. One thing, I don't know if you know this guy, Aaron Abke. He's like on YouTube, and he talks about a whole bunch of like astral planes and stuff like that. He's pretty well versed in that world. And one thing, a message I took from him a long time ago is like, if you get into astral projection and you start like actually going into these whatever, he's like, as you get further along with it, you will encounter negative energies. But he said that the way that you diffuse them is with love. And that sometimes someone who is not so seasoned with this shit might not know how to do that because they're freaking the fuck out. But if you're able to maintain that state of love, it diffuses them. Mm-hmm. So do you have an opinion or an experience with negative entities that you would like to share?
Yeah, I mean, okay. So again, I was an atheist for a long time. Mm-hmm. A long time. I mean, I was out to disprove God. And that was my mission for a very long time until I popped. And so just so people have a clear understanding, I'm super fucking logical in many ways. After I developed the ability to, really read, I got in deep into just logic. Mm-hmm. And so I think with that understanding, anybody who's an atheist or a non-believer, I think I'm the person to mm-hmm. say, wait a minute, this shit's fucking not real. Right.
Yeah. Take my word for it.
Yeah, right. So I don't know if you know what channeling is.
Channeling? Like Abraham Hicks and Bashar, whatever. Those are the two I know of.
Yeah. So I've developed the ability to do that. And it really, it's something far out.
Henry, you need a roommate? I'm just kidding.
Dude, it'd be kind of weird, right? Just be channeling for no reason. Just like, but the truth is we're all channeling. You're channeling me right now. You're channeling my information. you're processing it through your brain, through your perspective, through your fatherhood, or through your father, right? Or whatever experiences that you have. If I say banana peels, right, take that information and you have all these references to banana peels through your personal experience. You're channeling my energy into your avatar and you're perceiving that, right?
Yeah.
We're all
Yeah.
channeling the three, right?
Right. Right.
And channeling in the higher realms is just channeling to that frequency and then bringing that energy to your brain and then dismantling that energy from your perspective and then
Mm-hmm.
use your brain, your logic to articulate certain messages.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I learned how this happened is a long story. I'm not going to get into it. And because it just be so long, but I developed the ability to channel and I didn't know. And I was like, okay, this is like so weird. And so I had to get help. So I actually ended up working with someone by the name of Lori Ladd, and she's a huge like presence on YouTube. A lot of people may know her, but this is a long time ago where I hired her to help me, right? Because she was a channel and she mentored me on entities, like because one of my concerns was like, okay, if I'm channeling, am I channeling lower entities and this and that, right? And she taught me, she said, Henry, look, you attract what you vibrate at. Now she said Buddhist monks who astral project, and I astral project too, by the way, and we could talk about that in a second. Buddhist monks always pray for compassion for the world. They're programming their thought, their subconscious to just be in compassion. So when they eject an astral projection, they have no lower entities because their subconscious mind is thought responsive. It doesn't watch horror movies. It doesn't have,
Right.
all this news. And so you take that thought responsive reality, the astral plane, because that plane is thought responsive. If you want to go to Africa, you could project yourself that way, right? It's thought responsive. So if you're in fear, you will attract entities that will create that experience for you.
Mm-hmm.
Fear. And so if you are channeling energy, just channel fucking love. Focus on love and service to higher people and know that you're always guided and loved. And there is no way you could take a darkness into a candle. You cannot do that if it's lit. You cannot grab darkness and put it inside of a candle. But you could take the candle and every corner of the room and all darkness flees.
Yeah.
Be the candle, right? And no darkness enter. And
Yeah.
so when I uploaded that as a part of my belief structure every time I channel, so I never have any negative experiences, even during ayahuasca or other experiences. I might have a hero's journey in it with my own process, but I won't attract anything negative inside my field of consciousness because that's what I declare to be part of my reality.
When
It's
you
like,
well, the history of Henry, there was a point in your world based on what we've talked about so far when you did have like pent up negativity and it was like bleh, right, there's shit in there, right, and you had to work to begin to vibrate. And I heard on your other podcast you talked about, you said like, even today you still have to remind yourself to wake up. You'll have pockets of and you think no, you have to wake yourself up, sort of thing. So my thing, and I feel like it kind of ties, at least the way I look at it, it ties into doing an ayahuasca thing or taking shrooms or whatever. Like there's a part of me that fears, okay, I can go into it and be like, I might have a good time and all is love, but then I'm worried about, well, what about the buried shit in me? Is this gonna fucking pull that out or attract negative because it's in there? You know what I'm saying? Or did you reach a point? Like, I guess on one side, was there a point that you danced with, shrooms or some shit before you had like done all the healing and you did have some negative shit happen? And then you reached a point in your healing journey where it's like the bulk of your shit is love now. And like you're just you have so much faith in that you're good. Cause I think that's a fear for me, a closet fear or whatever, going into the idea of doing shrooms again or ayahuasca or astral projection or whatever, is that I still have shit to work out inside.
I don't know if that ever goes away though. I don't know if it does or doesn't. I'm not at that level to say all work stops. I think it was continuous, man. And so
it's more about setting intention in the moment. Like when you're about to do it, you maybe meditate or something for whatever and make sure you're in the right frequency and then do.
You know what? I don't know how to answer that, to be honest, because you always get, and so every journey that I've been on, personally, whether it's through ayahuasca or psilocybin or psilohuasca or all these other plant medicines that I've done, um, I've evolved through it. And some of the times that, like, okay, I'll give you an example. Okay. Right now, I am at a point where I love absolutely everything and everybody, and that's a real statement from me, from my heart. I don't have to convince anybody or do anything. I just have to know that that's what it is. My insecurities, my doubt, my fears of failure, that is always going to be a part of my reality. Now,
Mm-hmm.
the intensity scale might be at a 1, which is like nothing, or it might be at a 10, which is like, fuck, I'm going to fail. Right. But then that's where the discipline, the spiritual practice comes in. And okay, if I'm in fear at a 10,
Mm-hmm.
everything's apocalyptic, then if I just extract gratitude for being present right now in this moment, I love who I am. I've come a long way. I'm praying to, the infinite, invisible, whatever that is, and I'm grateful for everything. That intensity is going down to like a 6,
You're
right?
breaking down, yeah.
Spiritual energy is going up, like my faith is going up. So anything could be maneuvered in a way. All that energy is going to be there. I had another teacher tell me that, in duality, you're gonna have higher self and lower self. Um, you're gonna have sweet and sour. You're in polarity. You're gonna swing back and forth between all these emotions, right? All day. Right now, you'll have a powerful conversation, get off, and then all of a sudden something will happen and piss you off, and now you're going back down that negative spectrum, right? But you're not it. You're the perceiver of it. So you have
Yeah.
to identify it as awareness,
Yeah.
right? So to go back to, like, if you could, so the hero's journey while you're on medicine, right? It's like, oh shit, I'm having a bad experience.
What is
Wait,
what is hero's journey? What does that mean?
hero's journey, I forgot, I think it's Joseph Campbell that came up with it. So we're all in a hero's journey, man. Like, we're all here, like, we're born, we're here to discover who we are. We go through ups and downs, we go through defeats and failures, and it's all a journey to discover more about who you are, and to really bring that out to the planet. That's the hero's journey is in all great movies, right? They fail, they fall apart, and then they come back to glory, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is an inner journey, right?
Yeah.
The hero's journey is like, I mean, it's in everything, really.
Mm-hmm.
The ayahuasca, you drink this, you have an intention, and then you might go through this inner battle, this turmoil, this chaos, but what emerges out of that is glory, a new person,
Right.
is what. So
Okay.
yeah.
How many times have you done ayahuasca?
I've lost count, really.
Okay.
I've been all over
Cool.
the world drinking it too, and I've done it all legally, just so your audience knows, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
I've the jungle. I've made ayahuasca in the jungle. It's been a journey for me, man. I've been doing this
Damn,
for a
dude.
while.
Can I get super invasive and ask you, based on this three-dimensional world, how many years you've been here?
I was born in '86, but I let go of the concept of age, though. Like
You
I
let go, right? I've heard that. I've heard, like, it's something that we were indoctrinated, and whatever the fuck the word is. We were programmed with the shit. Like, age is just a number. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like, who gives a fuck? And the people that count it, which the majority of people do, every year, oh fuck, I'm 41 now. Oh fuck, I'm blah blah blah, and it ages you. So that's awesome. How do you actually fucking disconnect from the thought, though, of it? You just stop
Well, I think
celebrating your birthday, and
I
someone's like,
was
"Happy birthday, Henry." You're like, "Get the fuck out and fuck you." You know?
no, man. Like, at first, I probably was like that.
Uh,
Like, no, no, no. Don't ask my age. I'm not. I don't have. I'm age. I've gone through my process, right? I've gone through many variations. The reason why I did this is because I understood the studies behind it. I'm very logical in many ways, and so I understood the benefits of letting go of age.
yeah,
Because I mean, my intention is to live over 100 and to still have sex, still swim, do all these things that defies, fucking middle age.
yeah,
Hitting the hill, and there's people that do that in
yeah.
centenarian, and
Right.
they don't go by age, and they're optimistic, and they always have a ritual in place. There's studies that do this. If you want to go into that more, his name is Dr. Mario Martinez. He goes deep into that.
Mm-hmm.
But the way I did it is just by intellectually. I said, I don't have an age anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have an age. So when people ask me my age, I say I'm ageless. And they're like, wait a minute, you're ageless? What, like, before I had to prove myself, yeah, I'm ageless because I don't have to do, I'm letting go. Like, now I'm just like, I'm ageless. To you, I have an age.
Yeah,
You have age in your perception, but I don't. But I was born in '86. I'm so curious. That's the year I was born. That's a thing. But you
yeah,
could calculate how old you think I am based off your perception. That is your choice.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm not tethered to that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then someone's like, listen, man, I just asked you what size coffee you want. I don't know what you're doing. I'm just
Well, I tell them I was born in 86, right? Because if I tell them whatever you resist, persist, right? Whatever you suppress, you empower. I don't want to tell you my age. I'm ageless. So now you're bringing this lower density into your body. You're being egoic, right? You're being like, I want to be right. You
yeah,
know,
right.
I just got to the point where I'm like, okay, well, I'm free from age, but I was born in 86. To you,
Yeah.
I might have, I don't.
Yeah. Would you say that everybody is here to create, or that creating is an integral part of really living the full human experience?
I think so. In many ways, I don't think we have to create. I think we just have to identify as creation. I mean, your whole thing, you're already an expression of creation.
Mm-hmm.
Like seeking this idea that you have to go become something. You're already it. So it's just identifying as creation itself and having an intention behind it. That's my opinion, my growth, where I'm at in life. That may be different 10 years from now, it probably will. But I think like a flower is just being a flower. It
Uh-huh.
surrenders to the four seasons or where flower's at, right? You're a
Yeah.
part of you're worthy by law. You exist.
Right.
You're worthy.
Right.
You don't have to go become something, because then you put something on a pedestal and that creates resistance. Like, I have to go become happy, right? I work with a lot of successful people who are financially rich, like in that sense, success, but they're not happy. They've achieved what Tony Robbins says, the art of the science of achievement, but not the art of fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
And the art of fulfillment is falling in love, being the expression of joy as opposed to the pursuit of joy.
Right.
You don't have to go get, you could just activate happiness within your awareness. And then the things that make you unhappy dissolve from your field of consciousness.
Yeah. And so I know that people pay, good money to get this sort of information, but so try to be respectful and not take all of the nuggets out. But for someone like myself, what I'm leaning towards now, I think I already said this growing up, the word discipline was a bad word, but I'm realizing that it's more important now to start implementing disciplines of self-love. And I'm
Oh
thinking
yeah.
that something that I really need to do is have multiple check-ins a day with positive affirmations to myself. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like, and I've done it a little bit. I've had my moments where I do that and stuff, and like I go on a bike ride and I talk to my inner child, and I'll have some like good moments like that, and
Oh,
it's really, really good. But then I'll also have like a whole fucking day where I just don't check in with myself. And then
yeah.
I'm like, why do I feel weird? You know what I'm saying?
Right,
But
right,
but that's like the lazy stoner in me, right? The guy, like, growing up, like when I finally got the ability to be like, fuck you, dad, I just fucked off, you know?
right.
And I clung to this identity of being able to make people laugh and be the fun person at the party and shit, you know? And like, fuck school, fuck all that, man. We don't need that. Let's smoke some weed and go, whatever, right? And that's where I've lived. Fuck order in any form, you know?
Yeah.
And I do like the principle of thought of, yeah, fuck order, right? Let's go to the beach and just, who gives a shit? But the order or discipline of checking in with the self, I'm
Right.
I'm thinking for me is probably one of the most important things I could do for myself. What would you say to that?
I agree with a lot. I resonate with a lot with your story, by the way, completely.
Okay.
Um, I'm kind of a spiritual anarchist, to be honest. Like, I don't really subscribe to any doctrine, and
Right.
I just am about liberation of the self.
Right.
So there is no doctrine inside of my.
Discovery and liberation.
Yeah, man, it's all about you and how you approach reality. Um, so a lot of going back to what you said, even before what you said about, I have it in my mind. I'm not going to reiterate it because there was a lot said right there.
Mm,
But as far as like nuggets and all that, I operate strictly off abundance. So I'm willing to give whatever it takes to help people. My TikTok account is everything that I know, and I'm not holding back.
right.
And I'm not seeking to extract anything, because it's all about evolution and contribution. So I'll be with people as long as I have to, in order to them to reach a level of understanding. And so now to go back to what you were saying about, I forgot how you said it. What was it exactly? You mentioned
the discipline of self mantras.
yeah, right. So there's flow, right? And then there's discipline. And discipline, people are afraid of that word, but I have a TikTok on that where I go into the root word of discipline means a disciple of a love of an art that you love.
Fuck.
That's what disciple means, right?
Fuck, I
You're
never knew that.
yeah, like to be a disciple of a chosen art,
Oh
martial art
shit.
is because you love it.
That changes like the whole fucking relation of the word to me.
Yeah, dude, because there's a lot of like, I mean, people don't understand the
So
root
how'd
word.
you phrase that again?
Discipline is to become a disciple of an art that you love or a chosen art. Like a discipline of martial arts is because you're doing it because you kind of love it. And you have to cultivate the art behind it. Right?
Dude, people pay good money for what you just did for me. I mean, you just in that one statement, man. And you know what's funny is today I took some time today. I mentioned my father passed away. I took some time today to do some shadow work that I've been putting off for a long time. And like I sat here, I put a photo of him here and I just started typing out, you know, the whole thing, which helped. And I think I need to do more of that. But you just reframed because I've been, you know, words are spells. I believe that shit, you know, and
Yes.
I keep, whenever I talk about discipline now, I keep coming in with the, well, you know, it was a bad word growing up, you know, and then I go, but it's good. And you just fucking changed it for me, man. Holy shit. And that's the
Yeah.
root meaning of the word. That's so good, dude. Henry, fuck, man. Thank you.
We have to study the root words of things, man, because you know we're kind of just taking information and not transforming. There's a lot of, you know, this is the thing. I have a lot of people on TikTok that consume information without transformation.
Sure. Yeah. Everywhere. Yeah.
You have to integrate the information and then apply it,
Yeah.
you know, and so it's always good. I'm a big supporter of mentors and having people coach you and mentor you because you just go a long way, man.
Yeah.
And so you're able to tailor it and then use the information to convert it into biochemistry, then it becomes a different experience.
Yeah. Yeah. You haven't by chance ever hung out with Joe Dispenza, have you?
I have actually I've been to a lot of his retreats. Not a lot. I've been to one and I really got to meet him.
Oh,
And this was
shit.
early on in my career, way early. This is like before he was already known. This is
Yeah.
but he really blew up. This is like 10 years ago. You
Yeah.
know, yeah, he was one of part of my mentorships. So
Oh, fuck. So
mhm.
he like one-on-one mentorship with him?
Not one-on-one. I don't think he
Oh,
does that unless you're, but it was in group, it was engaged with him personally.
yeah. Okay.
No, not mentorship. It wasn't like he knows who I am type of thing.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it was
Because I'll
more,
find out.
yeah, right. Yeah. No, you know, it's all about truth and integrity for me. So it's just like yeah, he doesn't know who I am. You know,
Yeah.
he's a level individual. Like I don't have his number and shit like that. No, but
Yeah.
I did have an opportunity to work with him
That's
in
so
a
cool.
yeah.
I
So
mean, so for me, the big shift back in 2016, I was reaching a point of what is life, and I had you know, different attempts growing up in North Georgia, the Bible Belt of the country. Many different attempts of people trying to bring me into, you know, Christianity, baptism, and all that stuff. Nothing against those people. Plenty of great people, good friends I have that are in that world. But I always felt like, and I hate to say it, but I always felt like it was a cult trying to trap me. You know what I'm saying? Like, come over here, man. You know? And so this time in 2016 was the second time that I was saved, but I was saved based on whichever person it was that said I was saved.
yeah,
And I had this breaking down moment where I just felt like, kind of like your moment where it was like, what the fuck am I doing, you know? And I went out into a field and I fucking, you know, just expressed like loud tears and everything. And I had a good friend of mine on the phone with me, and he was like, he talked me through kind of like a prayer thing or whatever. And at the end of it, he was kind of like, you know, all right, man, hey, this has been amazing. You're saved now, blah, 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 this and that. And I was like, okay, cool, you know? but I didn't feel any different. I mean, I felt like a little bit lighter because I cried and shit. But like the next day I woke up, I'm like, okay, I'm still fucking, like not good. And then I had this massive anxiety attack like a week or two after that, which long story short, I ended up going down this rabbit hole of this channel called Beyond Science, which this guy, Mikey Chin, I think is his name. He also has a cooking channel. Pretty funny dude, but he does like 5 to 6 minute clips of things that have happened in the world that are not explained by science. And so that was like my first little dive in. It's like, okay, so all right, so science isn't everything, kind of thing. I'm like trying to find, because for me, I had made the assessment, okay, Christianity's not it. It's not for me. It is for people, but it's not for me, right? And so like that was the beginning part of it. Then I discovered the Japanese water experiment, which I'm like, okay, fucking shit, there's something here, Right. And then Joe Dispenza came on my radar only like a couple years back. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I just started like diving in more research. But now like the actual work of beginning to tap into my own spirituality is over the course of like the last few months, really since my father passed away, right? And I'm only just kind of slowly peeling back the layers,
Yeah.
Because as I told my spirit gods or whatever they are, I just want to take it slow, And part of me is like, fuck that, let's just open it up right now, But I don't know.
I'm glad you're doing it slow, man, because it's, even with like ayahuasca and different things like that, I think people get blasted open so much, like their personality gets like like it gets so like untethered. That back from ayahuasca, I actually have a lot of clients that work with psychedelics and they don't know what to do with their life. And so they hire me because they're like, I don't know. I had this revelation that I'm infinite spirit and that I'm here on a big mission and that I'm here to do this. And then I go back to being a bartender in, Wisconsin, and I don't know what I'm doing in life. I have this relationship that I'm not a part of, and I have this vision and I don't know what the fuck to do with my reality. And so they don't know how to integrate that energy into the personality. Right. And so there's a crisis that occurs. And I'm not saying it's interesting because I'm a proponent of psychedelics, but also kind of at the same time, not in support of it too, because it causes
I heard something about like you actually, have you done at some point in your time, like been a guide for people going down a trip?
So I've held retreats, have been non-psychedelic. Kambo, working with different retreats. I've gone to retreats where we work with psychedelics, right? And so, and then I also have an ability to serve psychedelics too, based off a church that I represent. And so there's also that component, because it gets a little weird talking about psychedelics, on podcasts and all these things. There's an assumption that I serve it. There's an assumption.
Okay.
So, but I have
the record be set straight then.
Yeah. I'm not doing any more retreats this year. I'm focused on really just coaching and really providing that and building my TikTok. But I did have a couple of retreats last year where it introduced different modalities to self-actualize and to see things from a higher perspective. That's the best way that I'm going to say it. And I also serve something called Kambo, which is a legal thing. And that stopped me from smoking cannabis indirectly, because a lot of people don't know what that is. But yes, I am not involved in any retreats coming up, or I don't have any perceived ones, but I have been a part of retreats that have been administering psychedelics.
What's this thing you said that helped you indirectly get off weed or stop smoking weed?
Oh, Kambo. Kambo is a secretion of a frog in the Amazon, and it's a poison, and it's secreted from the skin of the frog in the Amazon. And this frog only comes out when there's homeostasis in the Amazon. And the way the tribes do it is it's a traditional native practice where they bark at the frogs. They speak it sounds like a bark, how the frogs communicate. And they come down, they grab the frog and they tie it by the legs and they secrete the venom. And this venom has 8 peptides in it that bind to our receptors and it has 8 peptides that are like pretty much keys to our brain. And so the way you apply it is it sounds weird, but hear me out. You make small burns on the skin, like little tiny ones, without puncturing you know, without any blood, just the first layer of the skin. And then you put the venom on it, right? And now it becomes an ally. The peptides run through the lymph system and it goes to the brain and it tells the brain, holy shit, there's a foreign invasion. You need to optimize your body. You need to heal your body as quick as fucking possible. You need to clear your gallbladder, your large intestine, your small intestine, all your organs, your, you know, everything has to flush out. And then you feel like purging, you feel like throwing up. And usually on an empty stomach, and you drink water and you puke out all the toxins. It's pretty intense for like 20 minutes, 15 minutes, even less sometimes. And you purge out all that data because if you're angry right now, there's a part of your body that's vibrating at that level. It's like vibrating, right? And your organ is storing those toxins, that memory, kind of like the Joe Dispenza. Your organs take a flash, like a snapshot, and it's in your body. And even though your mind is like, okay, I'm not angry anymore, I'm going to go do this, you know, it's stored in your body as data. And so that unlocks it. It flushes the lymph system.
Okay.
And so you call that out. Now, I've served that. I don't do it often, only upon request or in retreats, or if they actually happen to be around, you know, my neighborhood and they're like, I need your help. And then I'll serve them. Or when I'm holding
how do you get it in your neighborhood? They have it in Hawaii too, or what?
Oh yeah, my partner serves it. She does that full time. My partner
She
serves it.
goes to the Amazon and it extracts the venom and brings it
Oh,
back.
I'm sorry about that. Good question.
Okay.
So we are a part of a nonprofit that serves that community that is collecting the venom on a little board, on a little a piece of wood. It's like a bamboo. I don't know what kind of wood it is, but they collect it for us, and then we donate to them. And it's usually a larger portion because the tribes are struggling with finances. So a lot of menial labor, they're like a lot of the tribes are leaving from the Amazon to work at a menial, like slave labor pretty much. And our organization pays them a substantial amount to keep them from doing that. And so there's this like this 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 process of attaining the medicine and also contributing to their culture too. And so there's the organization that I represent is called the IAKP. And so that's one that I did my training with. So that's one aspect of it. And then I also get medicine from different people that are from the tribes directly, right? And so I get it directly from the tribes that I know personally, and then I just Venmo them, and it's usually a high amount to meet their lifestyle. And I know them personally, and I get the medicine shipped.
So for you personally, when you did it, you purged, and then you were like, why the fuck do I smoke weed? Is that what happened?
No. Okay, so I enjoyed smoking. I used it as a practice for my evolution. You know, it was the first psychedelic.
It was not a coping mechanism for you then.
Well, I mean, I don't think so, to be honest. So I smoked a lot in high school, and then I stopped. And then one of the biggest triggers that evolved my spiritual evolution was smoking again, like at 24. Like I took one massive rip of some sativa, and it had me question everything that I was doing. I was like, how I'm showing up to life. That triggered so much of my evolution.
Yeah.
And so, but I wasn't smoking habitually. I that just happened. I don't know why, but it was the first psychedelic medicine that really helped me. It wasn't ayahuasca. It triggered that. And so I kept a continuous practice with it. But this was like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, actually, that I just stopped cannabis. I was in Kambo training to serve it. I was going to UC Berkeley, and I studied Kambo and all the peptides, did all the research, interviewed people all across the world on its benefits and its cons. And around that time, I was doing a treatment called the Warrior, which is you do Kambo 3 times in like 3 hours. So the whole process of you getting Kambo, getting the burns, you get the medicine on you, you drink water, and then you puke, right? That's one session. That's what normally people do, right? And after I did that, I did it again. So I did it 3 times in 3 hours. I did the whole process of purging 3 times, and I usually had to get more medicine. I never had the intention of letting go of cannabis. It was just on the 3rd session, I puked out everything that tasted like cannabis. For some reason, I was like, ugh. Like I could taste the THC. I was like, ugh. Like, okay, like, all right, that's it. I'm done with this purge. But what happened a week later is that when I would grab my piece and I grabbed my weed, I was like, no, I don't need to smoke weed anymore. It purged out all the tendencies that I had to smoke for some reason.
Oh, okay. How
It was
often were
something.
you smoking at that time, if you don't mind my asking?
Well, it's been on and off. Sometimes I would take one hit in the morning and one hit at night. One hit to like meditate and get my day going, and then one hit at night. It was never really like a gram would last me like 2 weeks or something.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's just a
Or
little bit.
even longer, or even longer than that. So to be
Okay.
honest,
Okay.
yeah.
Well,
But
that's
back,
great.
but before I was smoking a lot more. Like maybe
Yeah.
40. I was smoking a lot more than that.
Yeah. I know it affects people differently, and I try to convey that though. Like, so I mean, some of the things like on TikTok, you do a video and all of a sudden it goes nuts everywhere, and then all these people take the message the wrong way and they're just like typing all this stuff or whatever. But yeah, I don't have anything against the plant. In fact, I watched I'm sure you're familiar with Aubrey Marcus. I watched one of his recent podcasts with this dude that owns like a weed company, so he's like a full-blown like weed supporter. But then it finally gets to the point where he says, yeah, I mean, I only smoke once on the weekends, this guy. And like the whole podcast, you're thinking this dude smokes all the time. And he's like, not just once a week, and he's like, I do it. I set intention. I meditate. I think about my next week. I do this, I do that. And then I go back to my life sort of thing. And I was like, see, this is what I'm talking about. But it's like me, it was fucking, pretty quickly after I woke up. And then like the whole damn day. Every fucking day I was smoking. It wasn't blunts and blunts and blunts, but it was like 3 to 4 drags here, 5 drags there, throughout the day, and it was because I was escaping doing any of the healing. I was escaping feeling anything, because I still was holding on to that macho persona of I'm a man. I don't need to, and so it's a lot of layers to pull back for me, but I wouldn't trade this journey for anything, though sometimes I wish I had like some cheat codes or something, which makes me think about like psilocybin or doing. In fact, listening to that one podcast was the first time I ever heard of whatever the combo silowasca.
Silowasca is another medicine.
It's the combination of ayahuasca and mushrooms.
No, it's a combination of an MAOI and mushroom. So the vine in ayahuasca is the MAOI. It doesn't have the DMT. The chacruna does. So it's 2 elements: the chacruna and the DMT mixed together allow the MAOI and the chacruna to go into our bloodstream. The DMT becomes active that way. Psilocybin is already active, right, when you eat it. But the MAOI, which in this case would be Syrian rue, which is legal, and that coats the stomach, kind of like the ayahuasca vine. And so you could take Syrian rue and then eat mushrooms 30 minutes later, and it creates a chemical more similar to ayahuasca, an experience similar to ayahuasca.
And I find it called silowasca, what you just described.
Yeah.
So is it a similar experience too, like similar benefits and all that?
Well, Mother Ayahuasca is something else, man. That is something else. I think it's a good stepping stone for anybody seeking to get closer to ayahuasca. I think silowasca is a good stepping stone. I'm not saying to do it. I just want to be clear. I'm not suggesting psychedelic use. To be quite honest, I feel in my journey right now, I don't need anything. And so I'm being really clear. I'm not condoning the use of anything. If it's in a vibration with your heart, then that's a different story, right? And so people exalted states of consciousness without it. And so silowasca is similar to ayahuasca, but if you want to have, I mean, you could go, it depends really. You could go all in and go on ayahuasca and go to Rhythmia or go to like some other location, right? That serve it legally, and then bam, you'll have a miracle. You'll have this like awakening at moment. Or you could do silowasca. I don't know if there are many retreats that do that though.
So that actually brings up one more question. And I totally get, like, you're not saying, you're not condoning it in a necessary way or whatever. We're just talking about it sort of thing. And like, everybody do your own research, we're all on our own journey or whatever. We're just talking about the science of it, et cetera. But the one thing that I did hear on Aubrey Marcus he did like a little documentary on ayahuasca recently that he uploaded, which I found pretty cool. But the guy that was his leader shaman person in Costa Rica said something to the effect of, whatever you do, whenever you do it, you want to make sure that whoever your guide is knows what the fuck they're doing.
Oh yeah,
because
definitely.
if not, it could be a bad experience. And so that's my fear, because I've heard about this place in Orlando. I'm like, oh fuck, I could just go there. But then it's like, well, isn't it some kind of weird church or some shit? Like I almost feel like if you're gonna do it, you should probably go to like Costa Rica or somewhere and like do your research and make sure that it's the right person. Have you heard anything about this Orlando place? Like, is it?
I hear about places all the time, man, to be
Yeah.
honest. And I don't know what to say about it because I've been to places that have not been legal structures and I drink medicine and people have had horrible experiences and it's been a good experience. Like, and I
Mm,
need that at the moment, right? So it's hard to tell. I do agree with like having someone that you trust hold space for you. I think that's key for anything, even in coaching, even in a lover, even when
yeah.
like I think trust is like essential for anything in general, right? And
When you've done ayahuasca, were you doing it in? Because I've seen like on the documentaries, you'll see like there's fucking 10 people there doing it. Did you
yeah,
do it in like where there's a group of people all doing it, or was it like just you and the shaman, or did you do it both?
I've done all of them.
Because
I've
I'm
done
thinking the way I'm looking at it, and I'm a novice to this shit, but the way I'm looking at it is if I'm doing ayahuasca and it's me and a shaman and maybe one other person that I trust with my life, for example, versus me and the shaman and 10 people that I've never met before, and we're all just here. Now it's like all their shit is fucking in the air, and that could affect my thing. That's the way I
right.
think about it. Is that,
And,
would you say
and
that's?
that is true for certain people, right? And I think like it's important to know thyself, right? To
Yeah.
know thyself. Like, do you pick up energy now? Like a lot of people are super empathic, like, oh, get away from me. I can't tolerate this negativity. That's gonna, you have to know thyself, right? You have to really
Yeah.
understand your demeanor, your energy. For some reason, I'm one of those people that could be next to someone getting an exorcism and I'll be fine because I just show up and I just do my own little prayer and I get Palo Santo to create this sphere and I know everything beyond my thumb is Shakespeare's play, right? And so a performance, a dance that I perceive, and so I'm at that level now. My ex-wife, she wasn't at that level. She's something like in Vedic astrology. She was a portal or something like that. Like her nature was to be absorbing everybody's energy. That was just like her signature, and she's always had that, right? And I'm not saying that that's who she is because we could always transform and evolve, but the nature of her essence was to pick up shit, and so she would benefit from a smaller group of people, right? Or one-on-one, right? There's certain people who would benefit from a one-on-one session as opposed to there's certain people who could just, oh shit, there's an exorcism there. I'm just gonna sit right here and enjoy my process, right?
Yeah.
And it just depends on the person. And to be honest, and I've seen it both ways. I've seen it both ways. And we were talking about entities, right?
Mhm.
And there is people who pick up, I've had people who reach out to me and have a session with me and do these things with me that they feel like there's an energy around them ever since they drink ayahuasca because the facilitator wasn't holding the space right. Right. So
Mhm.
we go through some practices of alchemy, right? And then that person needed that experience in order to set boundaries, not only for her ayahuasca experience, but for her life in general.
Just in fucking general. Yeah. Now let me ask you this, because I think that's something I was kind of on that wavelength, I think. And for me, I think I might be one of those people. And I think that what would help me is to do more inner child loving and inner child work.
Yeah, I think
Would
so
you
too.
would you agree that that would help to offset the chance of energies attack? Because you're weak, right? Like I don't mean to say weak, but I feel like the version of me 10 months ago, a year ago, is considerably weaker than the version of me now because I've done some of the work, but with more inner healing and more inner child loving and all that stuff, the version of me a year from now is going to be like this fucking badass versus the energy that's in me now because of doing that work to help maintain the integrity of your space. Like, this is my space, like I don't have time for the negative shit, but like I
Mhm.
think I'm affected by it, and actually you talk about serving. I just picked up a job. I've been in sales for like the entirety of my adult life, but I'm kind of in this point where it's like I don't really want to do that. I'm actually working on trying to build my own coaching platform too. But in the meantime, I was like, I kind of need some walking around money, so I went and grabbed a serving job. And like I walked in there and you know, I hate to say it, but it's like, you know, when you go into a restaurant and like you just go sit down and they seat you and you have a server and you get your food, you leave, you don't get to be exposed to the entire crew, right? I came in on a day when it was a meeting for the entire crew, my first day. And I'm just looking around this room, all these people, nice people, you know, everybody's good people. It's all like different trauma and stuff. We all have it. But I just looked around. I'm like, these people are broken and they don't know it. Like
Yeah.
every fucking last one of these people are broken. They don't know it. And they, you know, they're drinking after their shifts every night, and they're getting up and popping energy drinks just to make it through and make more tips, just to do the same thing. And you've been around that. And so part of what you're talking about with that energy stuff, like now I'm like, well, fuck, dude, like, is this a good place for me to be right now? Like, am I gonna be susceptible to this energy? Is it gonna fuck with my shit? You know? I don't know. That's kind of what I've been.
Yeah, and this is like I work with a lot of people in this personally, and I mean there is no wrong or right way, and it's just a matter of perception and how you feel and what's in integrity with you, right? So I mean you could approach it this way. So I'll give you an example personally. Like I've got to a point like maybe a few years ago where I was like, I'm very spiritual. I say no thank you to a lot. I'm owning my energy. I don't engage in anything that doesn't serve me. But then I was developing spiritual ego, like I'm better than that person,
Uh-huh.
right? My spirituality became co-opted by my ego. And so like whenever I go visit the hood, because I grew up in the hood and get into a lot of madness,
Mm-hmm.
and even family, like, oh wait, I'm too spiritual, go to visit them, right? I was creating spiritual ego to create division.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I'm out of unity, I'm out of oneness, I'm out of one, the fact that they're all aspects of the self, right? That's my work. And so I kind of played with that a little bit, and I surrendered to it. I was like, let me go show up and be as me, right? Let me be medicine. And it wasn't like easily accepted, like people like, well, you do this, you do that, like old, like even friends that I used to chill with and get into a lot of trouble with.
Mm-hmm.
But I just held my truth, right? And I just said, this is who I am, this is my love, like I care about, and like I didn't vocalize it, I was just emanating that. And a few months later, I've had all those people who I grew up with, want to engage in the stuff that I'm doing for healing. Like I realized that by being more of myself, I was being medicine to people indirectly, subconsciously, and just holding the frequency of elevation,
Mm-hmm.
and so looking back now, there's a lot of people, even in my personal family, that have evolved just for me showing up in circumstances where before I would have said, I would never fucking do that. I would never go to a bar and sit there and have a beer, and because it's lower, it's lower, right? But that's just the stage that I'm in, right? I had to go through that stage of like, okay, I got to hold back a little bit to really understand who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And then knowing who I am, I could be everywhere that I am, right? And just be
Yeah.
okay with,
I think
and
that's where I'm at now. I'm in like the learning of the self ever since my dad passed. And like I'm fortunate enough that I've been able to kind of like not really do too much working during
right,
this time period. And I've just been working on myself, battling the emotions, letting it all out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Um, but now it's like, okay, I need to work too. But I'm really focused on trying to build this business. But in the meantime, it's like, all right, let me get some walking around money.
right,
So
right,
like, I don't know, but I'm gonna try and just go in and do my job.
right. But you can negotiate with reality, brother. That's the thing. Things
Yeah,
aren't fixed. They just appear to be fixed in your perception.
it's all
You
perception. Yeah.
and so you go in with the intention like this career is a blessing because it's helping me to create the practice that I need to empower,
Mm-hmm.
our species, right? That's a
Yeah.
different intention, right?
Yeah.
That's that went in there with the experience of these people are lesser than,
Right.
because then you're creating that experience within yourself.
Yeah. And
Because
so like I don't want to give the wrong impression there. Like I had love for them all, but there was a portion of egoic whatever when I came in there, like, ugh, I don't want to be like tainted by this shit. You know what I'm saying? Y'all go over there with your brokenness. I'm over here healing. You know what I'm
right,
saying? It's healing.
totally, totally.
But I get what you're saying as far as like the spiritual ego thing too, and just ego in general. But I think that the realize I used to originally I was saying dissolve the ego, get rid of it, get rid of it, get rid of it. But now I'm like, well, I don't know, man. I mean, the ego plays a part, right? But it's more about having a leash on it or training it like your dog, like
it
let
is.
the ego be the ego, but don't let it take over, et cetera, kind of thing.
it's not going away. It's
Yeah.
never going to go away because you're
Yeah.
alive. You have a personality. You
Yeah.
know, I don't know if you know who he is, Michael Beckwith. He was one of my first mentors when I first popped, and he was like, "Holy fuck, dude, you're onto something. Let me talk to you." And so he was like, really helping me out. And I even went to Egypt with him and had a very powerful experience there. But he told me something. I don't know. At some point, he was like, "Your personality is like an X on a balloon, right? And then when you inflate the balloon, that's like your consciousness, your spirit, and your X is going to expand with the balloon. And so even though you're growing consciously and spirituality and elevating in consciousness, that X will become big too. Your personality will become a part of it, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's
Right.
just to be mindful there. You know, you
Yeah.
can't really separate ego from you
Yeah.
can become aware of
Yeah.
it, right?
Right. And that's the biggest thing. Yeah. You mentioned
Mhm.
Eckhart Tolle. I was reading a new Earth recently, and I was like 30 pages into it. I'm like, fuck, this is the Bible. This is what people should be reading. You know what I'm saying? Fuck, man. Well, shit, dude. This has been fantastic, and I really hope that we can do it again. I'm gonna do some research and try and figure out the best way to hold one of these with little to no interruptions. I'm thankful that we only had a couple little snags and that we were able to make it through the bulk of it. But I'm gonna do some more research on that, and who knows, at some point maybe even visit Hawaii. And if you're ever in Florida in the Tampa area, obviously let me know. Would you have a moment if I pause this, if we can just keep talking for just a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I'm gonna hit the thing here. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Just you white in Reagan, just you white. You'll be sorry that your tears